Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here. And, this story to me is so much more than a payout. This story is about how sometimes in life, number one, things surprise you. Justice does happen. Number two, that justice may be inept, may be long overdue and very, very hard fought for. But in the end, the truth comes out. And of course, I am referring to the $10.9 billion that BAYER has now, or BAYER, I'm sorry, I don't want to mispronounce it. BAYER has now agreed to pay out to 3/4 of their lawsuits, whereas there's still about 25% that are holding out. So this thing still is kind of far from over. And of that 3/4, I believe 5% of that, so not 5% of the 25%, but 5% overall, which I still think is over 10,000 cases, are still set to go to court. But the bottom line is, BAYER no longer thought it was financially viable to continue to tell their lie that Roundup was indeed safe and did not cause non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So we're going to go over that story. Thumbs this video up, subscribe, and share. I want to remind everybody, I am fully demonetized here on YouTube with no recourse. A lot of you watched me try to appeal that decision, and we're still waiting, and we're waiting. But we were waiting to find out what the harmful content was in the first place. Was it because things like Cardi B is over party are trending right now, but we're not talking about the reality of a large company like Monsanto, and now, the company they've merged with, BAYER, being exposed for their lies? When we talk about glyphosate, we're also talking about GMOs. We're talking about poisons in the food and the water. When we're talking about BAYER, we're talking about what? Big Pharma and so much more. We're talking about a company that got caught, and we'll end up doing it live later if I remember, a company that got caught with live HIV virus in their Factor VIII injection medication for hemophiliacs. You cannot make that stuff up. So $5, $10, $15, big donors, I really thank you. Make sure you are subscribed. You're thumbing the videos up. Let's get into the story. So here it is. This happened yesterday. BAYER AG has agreed to pay up to $10.9 billion to settle thousands of U.S. lawsuits claiming that it is widely used weed killer Roundup causes cancer. Excuse me. The German drug and pesticide maker said that it has come to terms with about 75% of the 125,000 filed and unfiled claims overall, according to a statement published on Wednesday. So I'd say that's probably, just shy of 100,000 or in that mark that they're settling with for that $10.9 billion. Under the agreement, BAYER will pay $8.8 billion to $9.6 billion to resolve the current Roundup litigation, including an allowance expected to cover unresolved claims because they are still unresolved claims. An additional $1.25 billion will be paid to resolve future litigation. The news comes after years of talks resolving lawsuits that have pummeled the company's share price. Yeah, the share price indeed. It's not just that, though. This is systemic. But, I was one of the first people talking about this when Dwayne Johnson won that big settlement. It was epic, man. And as far as I know, Dwayne Johnson still has not died, and he's fighting for his life. And thoughts and prayers go out to him. Okay? The settled cases over Roundup and other glyphosate-based weed killers account for about 95% of those currently set for trial, it added. The Roundup settlement is the right action at the right time for BAYER to bring a long period of uncertainty to an end. You see how they never actually admit their guilt? Uncertainty. Well, thank you, CEO Werner Bowman. I mean, come on. It resolves most current claims and puts in place a clear mechanism to manage risks of potential future litigation. So again, I just want to reiterate that the real triumph here, outside of people actually getting some kind of financial justice for this, is that the truth is coming out. You know, they can sugarcoat it all they want. I mean, when you get down to it, you know, the World Health Organization is not one I'm a big fan of, especially these days. But even they had to concede, and believe it was concede, that it was probably carcinogenic. It's not like they would actually admit it or do studies, you know, blind studies, you know, to over and over show you it was. But it's probably carcinogenic, okay? Let's keep going down here, guys, because there's another couple big points here. Ken Feinberg, who was also appointed settlement mediator by a federal judge more than a year ago, said while nearly 25,000 claims remained unsettled, there will be no more trials as cases settle in the coming months. So he thinks that they're going to be able to do this without any trials. I don't know if that's the case. We'll see. You know, they've been using this since 1974. And remember, Bayer and Monsanto made that big $66 billion merger. And boy, oh boy, these claims, they weren't so good for them, were they? And I want to reiterate, you know, as we look at this, all the way up through, I believe it was 2008 or 19, there it is, yes, 2019, the EPA said glyphosate does not cause cancer. I want to remind you that we did a video this week on the EPA, okay, okaying and approving another type of genetically modified organism, a mosquito, that 750 million of will be released in the United States via Florida and Houston to fight the Zika virus. You can't make this stuff up over the next 2 years. It's the EPA's own website. We should be trusting the EPA? You know, again, the Environmental Protection Agency is a joke. They're not here to protect us. That's not what this is about. It never has been. And the reality is they're here to protect people like Bayer. And when I say people, wait, Jason, Bayer's not a person. No, but unfortunately, we've given them the rights of a person through litigation. But then you can't criminally prosecute any of the actual human beings that run those companies. Right? Yet, Dwayne Johnson's non-Hodgkin lymphoma right here, yeah, that's very, very real. Very, very real. And it's time we start realizing that none of these people are our friends, and that we have to start holding these people criminally accountable. Criminally accountable and throwing them in jail. That's the reality. You know, our legal system, you know, has been stripped. But I want to say this one more time. It is a very positive thing that this is happening. A lot of these people probably deserve a lot more money. A lot of people probably are not going to get the justice they actually deserve. But this reasserts, again, and you know what? I promised we would do it live. So let's do it live. You know, it sounds insane to say that Bayer and Factor 8. Oh, I didn't have to type in HIV. It's right there. All right? It's all right there. Blood Money, Bayer's inventory of HIV contaminated blood products, Factor 8 and Factor 9. Okay? I mean, it paid millions. Paid millions in HIV infection cases. It's a dark little secret. You know? You see that? You see how this works? It's scary. So guys, thumbs this video up, subscribe, and share. I got a interesting video coming up a little bit later. Someone was bringing up the moon the other day, and I found this archive footage of what I believe is like 1960s NASA footage, pre-Apollo, of the moon. And we're going to have a fun little video on that one. So people can tell me either it's Johnny nonsense and they'll be like, whoa. So guys, $5, $10, $15 means the world to me. Consider supporting the Burmese Brigade. Make sure you are sharing the videos, that you are talking about Julian Assange, that you help me push back against New York gangster Andrew Cuomo, that you do spread messages of love like the one Bobby Green tried to spread about racial unity and humanity, and Twitter deemed it sensitive content. And I may be doing a follow-up on the Jeff Ross video, as someone has reached out to me in defense of Jeff Ross. So stay tuned. And then if you want to see a bigger breakdown of the GMO mosquito story, that's up there as well. Remember, all my documentary films, they're in the playlist section right now for free. Loose Change, Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined, and Shade the Motion Picture. Remember to check me out on Rockfin and Minds. And guys, remember, these issues affect all of us. All of us. You think that everybody at BAYER votes Republican or Democrat? You think their lobbyists just buy out Republicans or Democrats? You think they're hard left or hard right? Sorry, friends, they ain't. See you on the flip side.